welcome back to The Bright Side. Macy here, the Bright Side Girl, and today we are doing my January audiobook wrap up. So just in case you missed it, I will link my physical reading wrap up here in the cards as well as down below in the description, because these are going to be only the audiobooks that I listened to for January. I wound up listening to 6 audiobooks in January, which I'm quite proud of, even though that is my average, mainly because they were all really big and they were a lot of series and things that I kind of needed to get wrapped up. So I'm pretty proud of myself and I'm really excited to talk about these. First, we're going to talk about Guy in Real Life. I can't remember the author's name, but it'll be on the picture up here. This was narrated by Macleod Andrews. So this is about a young man, kind of goth and grunge in his nature. He's not really into like video games or anything like that. And he meets this girl who he kind of becomes obsessed with, and she really likes like Dungeons and Dragons, and his best friend really likes kind of like a World of Warcraft type game and has tried to get him to play. And he decides to kind of create this like new user character based on this girl that he met, which is kind of weird. So it's kind of about like video games and friendship and growing up in high school and all those kinds of things, and also like Dungeons and Dragons. So what was cool about this book is you get the perspective of him playing the video game as the girl that he likes, which is kind of strange, but kind of cool. So it completely changes story, and it also kind of changes narration. There might have even been another narrator. I think that there was. And you're like, so-and-so wanders to the woods and gathers up the berries and eats them and then finds out they're poisonous and blah, blah, blah. And so then you switch back and it's like, it talks about him just like going to school and talking to people and talking to the girl and whatever. And then you get the girl's perspective, her normal life, but then also her playing Dungeons and Dragons and her character in Dungeons and Dragons. The only thing was I found this like a little bit confusing because the guy names his character after the girl that he likes, Svetlana, and so you're getting Svetlana's narration, but also his narration as Svetlana in the world. It was very strange. This was a very odd book. I really don't know how I feel about it, honestly, because he was kind of obsessed with the girl, but in like a weird way, and it was kind of inappropriate and strange. I mean, if you really like video games or Dungeons and Dragons and you're looking for that kind of a book, then you'll really like this. I thought it was only okay. I didn't love the contemporary parts. I kind of liked the magical parts, but overall, it was kind of just like a 3-star read for me. It wasn't anything spectacular. I did really like the narrators. I thought they did a good job, and it was something kind of fun and quick to get through, but it was really odd. So let me know if you guys have read this down below in the comments and we'll have a chat about it. I listened to Winter House by Ben Gutterson, I'm not sure how to pronounce his name. But this is a middle grade book, and it was so great. This is narrated by Sophie Amoss. Basically about a girl who's kind of been orphaned, and she lives with her aunt and uncle, and they don't really like her, and they've kind of been resentful of having to like watch her and take care of her. I think she's like 13, I'm not entirely sure, or around that middle grade age. And for Christmas one year, they decided to just send her off to this place called Winter House, which is like the fancy hotel, like resort type place. They decided to just send her there, and she's really discouraged because she's like, doesn't know anything about it. And so she winds up going and finding out all these like mysterious things and somewhat magical-esque things that are happening. She meets a young man and they become friends, and they kind of try to solve mysteries together, and they also just like learn about each other and talk about the things that they like. They like dissecting language and learning, and she finds this magical library and with a special book in it, and it's really, really cute. Just kind of like a cozy mystery book set in like this fun manor estate type setting with fun characters, and you're getting just different things kind of thrown at you. I really, really liked this. Definitely 4 stars for me. Sophie Amoss did a really good job. I've listened to some things from her before. I can't remember what they are, but I enjoyed them as well. This was just really fun, perfect for winter. I do have the 2nd book on hold, so I plan to listen to that soon, and then possibly the 3rd book as well, because it was just really quick and fun and easy to listen to. So 4 stars. Then I listened to Archenemies and Supernovae, both by Marissa Meyer, both narrated by Rebecca Solar and Dan Bitner. So I love Rebecca Solar and Dan Bitner. They're 2 of my all-time favorite narrators. I'll be having a whole video talking about my favorite narrators and things that they narrate coming out soon for the Audiobookathon, which the announcement video should already be out, and if it is, I'll link it up here in the cards because I'll be a co-host for that. But I love listening to Marissa Meyer's books because Rebecca Solar narrates them all. So I finally got caught up on this wonderful trilogy. Marissa Meyer is my favorite author. I just think her books are so fun. They're so fun. They're mostly lighthearted, like the drama is nothing like too crazy and intense, and you can kind of see where the plots are going, but then she throws enough twists and turns in there. I really liked this book. I thought it was a little bit of a filler, which I've kind of been hearing throughout BookTube, but I still enjoyed it. I like the characters so much. There are so many characters in here. So this is set kind of in the future where superheroes have just come into being, and they have basically formed into the new government. So you have superheroes and you also have the anarchists, who are kind of like the villains, but really they're just kind of against the government style of the superhero law, and people have kind of gotten lazy and expected the superheroes to do everything for them, and so they don't really know how to do or protect themselves as much. And so we have our main character, Nova, who had something tragic happen when she was a child, and she wound up becoming one of the anarchists, kind of with good reason, and she winds up having to join with the renegades, which are the superheroes, undercover and try to kind of take them down from the inside. But it's also kind of her learning that maybe they're not so bad as she thinks they are. And then we have our other character, Adrian, in here, and he is kind of hanging out with her and getting to know her and doesn't know anything about her past or anything, but he kind of has his own secrets as well. And then you just have tons and tons of other characters. What I love about this series is there are really cool superpowers that I personally haven't read a lot of superhero books, but I've watched a lot of superhero type movies and TV shows. I gotta say that Marissa Meyer's superheroes got some unique and well thought out abilities. We have one girl whose name is Ruby, and she basically like bleeds rubies, and she can kind of use them as like weapons and stuff like that, and it's kind of hard to like stab her because she just bleeds rubies. And then Nova can put people to sleep by touching them. Adrian can draw on things and they kind of come to life, and there's just a lot of fun superheroes in here. There's an anarchist that's name is Honey, and she has a bunch of bees that follow her around that she kind of controls, and they're kind of like her pets. And yeah, it's just really fun and really good. They're definitely on the longer side, probably unnecessarily, but it's nothing major. I still think they're super fun, and I like all of the world building, and I love all of the characters. Like even all the side characters you become totally attached to. So I can't say too much about this second book because I don't want to spoil anything, but I really enjoyed it. I thought it was great. Good to be back with Nova and Adrian, and this one left off on a crazy kind of cliffhanger. So I wound up giving this one 4 stars. And then Supernova, I super enjoyed. I thought it was really, really good. I just have warm, fuzzy feelings about this series. Supernova was probably 4.5 for me, just under 5 stars, but I really loved it. And there was kind of a cliffhanger at the epilogue. Did anyone else notice that? Like, I was like, what's happening? This is over. So I don't know if that means that we're getting another series. There's been speculation that we might be getting another series like from the middle grade realm, like maybe a middle grade version of the series following similar characters. Overall, the story totally wrapped up. There was just like one little thing at the end that you were like, wait, what? I just thought it was really good, and there were definitely some twists and turns and some things that happened in here that I wasn't expecting. Really liked the battle scenes, and it was just such a great audiobook. They're very long. They're like 14 to 19 hours long. I listened at 1.4 to 1.6 speed, which cuts them down to like 12 hours or something like that. But I enjoyed it. It's still one of my favorite series. She's still one of my favorite authors. Like I said, this one wound up being 4.5 stars. Then I finally made it to wrap up Five Dark Fates by Kendar Blake. This is the 4th book in the 3 Dark Crowns series. This one is narrated by Amy Landon, who I also really love. I re-listened to, I think, the 3rd book in the series in the fall to kind of prepare for this, and I just didn't get to it with all my Christmas reads and everything. I really love these audiobooks like a lot. Amy Landon doesn't have a lot of differences in her voices and things, but I still think that it's easy to follow and really fun. So this entire series is following 3 sisters that have been groomed to fight to the death for the throne. That's kind of the premise. It's a little bit false because it's not as brutal in that way as you expect it to be. There's definitely a lot of world building, and they each have their own power. So one is a poisoner and she's good with poisons and can ingest poisons. One is a naturalist who basically has a familiar, which is like an animal pet, and one is an elementalist who can kind of control the weather and all that kind of stuff. And so you kind of learn about the different backgrounds for that. You learn about the queens before, you learn about how this matriarchy came to be, and there's love, romance, twists and turns. I was just slightly disappointed in this last book, just a little bit. There were just a few things that I wished had happened, and I wished for just a little bit more twists and turns. But as a whole, I really, really love this series. I think it's a solid fantasy series. I honestly still think it's kind of underrated here on BookTube. As a whole, I give the series like 4.5 stars. This book, I think I wound up giving 4 stars. Really enjoyed it. I'm really glad that I got to wrap up a nice fantasy series. It's been a while since I've finished like an entire fantasy series that was more than 3 books. So really liked it. Hope I can find something to kind of fill the void because this one was excellent. And then lastly, I finally finished The Toll by Neal Shusterman. You guys, I think this is my favorite book series, book trilogy of all time. I know it's my favorite trilogy, for sure. But I think it might be like my favorite book series ever, besides Harry Potter, because Harry Potter just doesn't count. Am I right? It's just like, that's just like, it's like Harry Potter and then everything else. I loved this series so much. I have talked about it here several times. So this series is narrated by Greg Tremblay, who is freaking awesome. It definitely starts out slower, and Greg Tremblay has kind of a soothing voice. So you need to speed him up to at least 1.4 speed, 1.6 speed, and you need to kind of hang in there because there's a lot of world building. So this is a sci-fi series set in the future. It's utopian, where we have learned how to not die, disease, whatever. We've fixed, like if getting hit by a car, we know how to revive ourselves. We have all this high-tech information happening. We have like a really super smart AI that kind of controls everything in like a gentle way and takes care of everything, and everybody kind of relies on that. We reset ourselves. Once we start to look kind of old, you can reset yourself to be younger. And so because of that, because no one dies, we have to do something about the surplus population. So we install scythes, and they are basically assigned to glean, aka kill people like for good, to decrease the surplus population. And it's supposed to be like this honorable thing, and they're supposed to take it very seriously, and they're supposed to do it with honor and thought and take care of the families and all that kind of stuff. And then things kind of get corrupt as they do in our utopian worlds. So that's a very loose description, but basically we're following 2 scythe apprentices, Rowan and Citra, and they are learning to be scythes, and they are training to be scythes under a scythe. That's what the first book starts out as. And I just can't say too much more. I just think that the level of detail that was put into these books, Neal Shusterman is just a freaking genius. I mean, the ending of this book blew me away. I was just literally like, I was so close to crying. Jeff and I listened to these together, and that was so much fun. Like, buddy reading really, for me, makes my favorite books my favorite books. Like, every book that I have that's a favorite book is because I always like buddy read it with someone. But the level of detail and things that happened in here, the way this ended, the way the side characters all ended, the way that things wound up, I was just like, what? Oh my God. It was so pleasing and so satisfying, and it like literally hurt at the end. It was just like, oh, it's so good. It kind of left a tiny door for like a side series or something set in this universe / world to carry on. I kind of hope that happens. I hope if it does that it is very well thought out and planned like these were. This one was just a tiny bit slower than the other ones, but I loved being in the world and learning about the world and learning all of the twists and turns so much that I didn't care. This book could have been like 100 hours and I would have listened to it. You know, kind of like Harry Potter, where you listen, it just could have been like 1,000 pages and we didn't care. That's how I feel about this series. Not everyone's going to feel that way, and definitely it is a slower world building book, but there is friendship and romance and thought-provoking ideas, and just, it's just so beautiful, and I can't say enough good things about it. And I'm so sad that my favorite series is over now, because a lot of my favorite series, we're going to put this down now. So 5 stars for sure. 5 stars, all the books, love them. 5 stars, 5 million stars. I'm really sad that I have finished a lot of my favorite series because I don't currently have any ongoing favorite series. I kind of talked about that in my 2020 anticipated releases, like Archenemies, 5 Dark Fates, The Toll. I'm sure there were a few others as well. I've like wrapped them all up this year. I've wrapped them all up, and so I don't really have anything that I'm like majorly excited about or anticipating as far as like continuations go, except for Fate of the Fallen. I can't wait for book 2 of Fate of the Fallen, which I don't think is going to come out this year, so that's kind of sad. But hopefully I will find some new loves this year and have a much better reading year than I did last year. Because unfortunately I started most of my favorite series and favorite reads in 2018. So I didn't have quite as many loves last year as I did the year before when I started like Scythe and Renegades and Three Dark Crowns and Illuminate and Red Rising and all those kinds of things. Ooh, I do have Red Rising to finish, so that's exciting. But I just started so many things that I completely fell in love with and was obsessed with in 2017, so I hope that 2019 becomes that year for me as well. So anyway, what a fabulous reading month. It was amazing. So thank you guys so much for watching. Hopefully this video wasn't too long. I just had to give the Tolle all the love it deserves. I think Jeff and I might be doing like a spoiler-filled review of the series as a whole if I can ever like get him sit down and talk about it, because it's one of his favorite series now as well, which is amazing because he's kind of picky. So I loved it so much. Thank you guys for watching. Let me know down below if you've read any of these, if you want to read any of them, or what you're reading right now or listening to, and I'll see you guys next time on The Bright Side. Bye!